trying to make a big papa here.
All right, here we go. Testing, 1, 2. Testikins. Okay, there we go.
Combo breaker!
Yes, that's right. That's what we're going to do. It's all about what we're going to do right now.
Wow, this Void machine room does really well.
Yes. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Now. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I am JT Vega, host of Gamerload Live, and with me is Shimmer Crash.
What's up, everyone? Shimmer Crash back in action.
Yes, we're back. I know that most people might be wondering, what subject are we talking about right now? Well, we're going to be bringing up interesting topics in the video game industry. Right now, we're going to bring up Japan. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Japan. And what's going on in Japan? Well, the Tokyo Game Show. We're going to probably be talking about some of the stuff that's going on and some of the stuff that kind of is negative, but hopefully it won't be that
Some
negative.
positive is in there.
Yes. So here we go.
Yeah, well, by the way, if you hear something in the background, I am playing Destiny right now while I'm doing this little review I'm going to do.
Yes, he managed to play the game, which is Astro Breed.
Yes,
Today's bit review is Astro Breed.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, to start off, Astro Breed is a game on Steam that you can actually buy for pretty cheap, about around $14.99. It's actually a really good shooter. That's actually it's a changing perspective shooter, if you want to really call it that. Also, you can classify it as a bullet hell game.
A bullet hell. Explain.
Yes, basically, when it comes in this game, you have thousands and thousands of projectiles flying at you on the screen. Yeah, literally, you have thousands and thousands of projectiles you're trying to dodge. Well, actually, controlling a mech that used to be belonged to the enemy race in this game, the Falloon.
The Falloon.
99
shish balloons. Yeah, imagine that having to be played in the background.
Yeah, really. But basically, in the game, the Falloon are a genocidal race of mechanical beings bent on destroying humanity. So, it's basically human versus machine, basically. But in the beginning of the game, you're mainly playing a guy who's actually about to be down mech.
So he's basically the main protagonist in the story.
Yes, I really don't remember his name at the moment though. But the main protagonist in the game, he discovers a downed Falloon mech, which he actually somehow he feels that is actually like calling to him via some girl named Theo.
Ah, so it's kind of like Line Barrel.
Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like Line Barrels.
Line Barrel, except the kid died in that one. And he finds out that he was saved by the girl, and the girl made him pilot the mech.
Yeah, I think when this game was on Kickstarter, they did take some inspiration from Line Barrel.
Ah. But it kind of, this game kind of reminds me of... it reminded me of a game from Square Enix a while back that you might remember.
Which one?
I think it was called Einhander or something like that.
Oh, Einhander, yeah.
Einhander, yes. I'm sorry if I can't pronounce the German or...
Yeah, I'm kind of versed in German a little bit, so yeah, I can understand it.
Because it's
it sort of does remind you of Einhander.
Yeah, in a way it does, because I looked at it, I was like, this kind of reminds me of Einhander, except it has a mechanized robot for it.
Yes, basically, and back to the subject of Astro Breed. What happens in the game? This guy who runs across this down Falloon mech takes it back to this Earth Federation force. they basically modify it for their own purposes. Because like from the waist down and some of the equipment, this thing's like half gone, but it's down.
It's half gone, but it managed to be modified to be a weapon against the balloon.
Yes. Well, and basically a time skip to about a year later in the game, the mech is fully operational, and it's able to be fully and completely piloted. But you realize you realize that this Theo girl is actually helping this boy control this mech.
Ah. So it's more like she's an AI in a way, but she isn't.
Well, she's mainly she's AI, yet she's human at the same time.
Ah, so that's pretty much like Zone of the Enders.
She's like a co-pilot, but she can communicate through the mech. Basically.
So it's basically Zone of the Enders.
Basically, yes.
So the kid basically is trying to become Zone of the Enders Jahati.
Yeah, you can actually put it that way, and that actually does make sense.
Because it's kind of like that in a way, but except she isn't like self-destructive. She's more trying to protect the kid because the kid.
Yes, but also later in the game, you also find this girl has a sister, who is actually controlling a mech called the Esto.
The Esto.
Yes,
which is her enemy.
Another Falloon mech that a human took over.
So,
but get this, her sister in the Esto is fighting for the Falloon.
Ah.
So throughout this game, it's mainly a mech on mech kind of thing. With
mech on mech, as in girl on girl action. That's pretty much what you're saying right there. Is like mech on mech is like, okay, and the AIs are girls, have girlish personalities, and they basically are sisters, and it's like girl on girl action.
Yeah, you can actually put it like that. but during this whole game, you actually that's sort of mainly a gist of the story. Another thing I want to bring up about the game is the control system. You have focus shot, scatter shot, slash, and you have your EX attack. EX attack being your ultimate special. The EX is basically you take your EX attack basically is a full round slash that is massive that mainly overpowers anything around it.
Ah.
Within the radius of the AX attack, anything is destroyed.
So you basically can actually do melee attacks and also shooting attacks, and that's pretty much it separates from.
Yes, it separates itself from games like Raiden.
I haven't played Raiden before.
It focuses on just the shooting element alone.
So it tries to separate itself as pretty much a shooter itself that doesn't involve.
It has a hack and slash element.
So it has a hack and slash element / shooting element.
Yes, and this is why I like the game. It sets it apart with that very mechanic. And one of the coolest things about it is that if you hold down the slash button, you're able to warp around the screen, slashing at enemies.
That's interesting.
Yes, it's sort of like a Lancer attack.
A Lancer attack. The thing about that game, I'm wondering about it. I'm just going to ask you questions about this. All right. How do you really feel about this game? How does it? How the graphics, the storyline? How did it really?
The game really impressed me. I mean, graphics-wise, the game looks something like out of an arcade, mainly. I mean, it's just so impressive. It actually kicks the arcade element up a notch. If you, by appearance, you would think this would actually belong in an arcade cabinet as well. But just by appearance alone, it looks like something made for a system. So it's sort of like a split between arcade and system.
Arcade and console.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of, because I'm kind of skeptical about games, and sometimes I try to be like, if I never played the game, and I honestly am telling you people, I have not played this game yet. My friend did, and I always ask him questions. Is it really a good game, or is it really a bad game? Is it worth buying? And that's pretty much, because considering I'm like a low budget gamer.
And actually, this game is good for the low budget.
Yeah,
it's only $14.95 on the Steam store.
That's not bad. Right now, there's a lot of stuff going on sale right now.
As the way how I feel like gameplay-wise, very, very solid.
Yeah, but you also told me that it was also very short.
Yes, but with a lot of replay value.
A lot of replay value?
Because this game, there's with the three mode settings: normal, hard, moderate, and hard. Each difficulty setting will give you a new experience each time.
Ah.
So kicking up the difficulty will actually represent in giving you a new experience within the game itself.
Like any sort of like does it like have a story mode or something like that?
Actually, yes, it does. The story mode is told during gameplay, where it is narrated in Japanese with the subtitles below the screen.
Oh, Neil. I can imagine that.
Yes, but honestly, the one thing you won't really care about the story through all the action you'll be facing. And you'll be focused on taking down every enemy on the screen that you can. It is that intense.
And that intense of a Jap. And this is made by what company?
Edelweiss.
Edelweiss. Are they like a Japanese company?
They worked on various previous indie titles. I'm not sure, can't remember which ones, but they did work on various previous indie titles.
Oh, name one, for example.
Like I said, I can't really remember off the top of my head.
We can look them up.
Now. Yes, I know this game was on Kickstarter at one point in time.
Edelweiss.
Yeah, Edelweiss. Edelweiss.
Yeah, because I know that it was like... Yeah, because Astra...
Are we able to find anything on it just yet?
Yeah, I'll look up Asteroid and see what it is and see what they are.
Yeah, Edelweiss, you mean.
Yeah, Edelweiss is a company that did... Let's see, reviews on Edelweiss. Edelweiss, yeah, it's the developer of Ether Vapor.
Yes, Ether Vapor. I remember now. Yeah, they also did the shooter Ether Vapor. A very good, and also another very good shooter that I might add. That I might add to my collection sometime.
Oh yeah, it was also on Xbox, wasn't it?
Yes, it was on Xbox. Now, yeah, it was an Xbox now.
Yeah, sorry, it does have that whole element of freaking Macross in a way.
Yes, it does.
It was like if they did Macross, it would have been funny.
It would have been. There's also actually one thing I do want to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
During the story, the mech that the boy finds is actually named the X-Breed.
The X-Breed?
Basically, X-Breed means crossbreed.
Crossbreed. As in they were trying to crossbreed humans with machines.
Human and balloon technology. So being named the X-Breed is a cross of both human and balloon technology.
That's interesting.
Yes, so the X-Breed mainly being crossbreed.
Yeah, they're... Okay, Elson... Okay, so they actually were a part of... They also were with Gaming Media.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, and I can see what they did. They also...
Also, for those who want to buy this game, I do want to actually give a little warning. Mm-hmm. There is a huge element of challenge because you will die a lot, even in normal mode.
Yep.
That is a fair warning, because
Yeah.
this is only for a game those who love challenge.
It's kind of funny, though, because it's like a lot of the games that you choose, all of them seem interesting.
I know, yeah. I'm very picky and choosy with my choices. And with this, I actually I hit it right. I picked right because I reviewed the video many times.
Yeah, and we're not being bribed, ladies and gentlemen. I usually let my friends review a game, and we don't get bribed for this. We don't get paid for this. He's not getting paid for this. I'm not getting paid for this. We do this because we love to do this. So,
hold on, everybody. I gotta take a quick call.
All right.
Yeah, dude.
All right. Any questions, guys? Any questions that you would like to ask? It's up to you. I'm not going to stop you. And anyways, it looks like we're not getting any questions. Well,
sorry about that. Okay, next question.
All right, next question. All right, okay. Ether Vapor, okay, and there's also Fairy Bloom Freesia, which was a beat-em-up game.
Yes, I do remember that. I actually I had a friend who played that a lot.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's a beat 'em up game, but it's actually a side-scrolling beat 'em up game. Looks like. Yeah, it was on Gamergate, on all the platforms on PC.
Yes, it was actually.
Yeah, after looking at this, I'm assuming that this game, the developers that made this game, aka New Media / Edelweiss, or what are they called?
Edelweiss, yes.
Edelweiss. Okay, according to them, they basically make Dishonen games.
Yes, they do.
Japanese Dishonen games.
Mainly like girl games.
Yeah.
Cute guy games.
And they only made only 3 of them.
Yes, that is very true. I'm not. I can't say I'm actually an expert on Japanese culture, but yes, I'm very versed in some of their terms.
Yeah.
Bishonen, I think, mainly means cute guy, while Bishoujo means cute girl.
Yeah, and they do the whole Dishonen. It was like they're known for Dishonen games, and of course this game is not really any of that. It's basically mecha.
Yes, it is a mecha game.
Yeah, it is a mecha game, and it is surprisingly. It's like right now, it's like because according to Giant Bomb, they are a Japanese Dishonen game development group that has recently made minor toehold in the Western market.
Yes, they have. And
with
the
PC
Western
games.
Market, actually, the Metascore that I read on Steam was actually a 89 for this game.
Because surprisingly, this game actually is well liked.
Yes, it is, and that's correct.
And of course, for a Japanese company, for a Japanese indie company, I'm surprised that they actually reached out and did something.
Yes, and bringing this to the U.S. was actually a very...
Yeah, it is a good idea, though. Uh-oh. Sounds out.
This really boosted Edelweiss's reputation. This really boosted their reputation.
Yeah, I know. It does it does really make them a good company, and they actually are trying to, bring out games that they want to bring out. Because this is an indie company from Japan, and I'm surprised. And they even made a remastered version of it, of Ether Vapor.
Yes, and I mentioned Ether Vapor was very popular among most of the U.S.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that they, for an indie company that did so little, did so much to try to put it on Steam, and people who voted for it were like, hey, this is not a bad game, I'll vote for it, put it on Steam.
Yes.
And of course, New Media supported them on this one.
This is a very satisfying purchase for those who are into Japanese mecha.
Yeah, and it was, and what do you think of this game?
Honestly, the game's solid in its both gameplay, its aspect, and very accurate, and a very accurate representation of a. Well, let me revise that little statement.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, the game is very solid in its own right.
Mm-hmm.
It plays well, and one of the things I did like about it was the fact that it's seamless. It's between all the action. If the perspective change was seamless, not interrupting any of the action. That was what I liked most about it. You can change the during gameplay. It'll change from a third person to an overhead to a side, in very seamless ways.
Yeah, but I found out this game is actually pretty interesting.
It is, and and as well, if I were to give it a really good score, 10 out of 10 tops, perfect score.
A perfect 10 out of 10.
Yes, this is a first for this show. 10 out of 10.
And he's not getting paid or bribed or fully disclosing this because we're not getting paid by any group or any organization recommending this.
No, we are not.
You can look up our backgrounds and everything and find out anything. That's our full disclosure right there, bitches.
Yes, but 10 out of 10.
10.
This game. Its length is perfect. For being a short game, the length is perfect. It doesn't keep you. It doesn't bore you. It doesn't make you want to put. It doesn't say, I'm not going to play this anymore. I don't want to put this down.
Astrobead. Yeah, for those, it's a great recommendation. Astrobead.
Yes. And like I said, 10 out of 10. I played this. I didn't want to put it down. I was hooked on it from the very first moment I started playing. Oh, as well, the controller support I like. I have a PS2 controller I'm using with this. It works absolutely well.
So you basically USB ported that thing into the.
Yes, I did.
Oh, that's
it does. It has partial controller support. Oh, as well, there is online leaderboards.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, there is online leaderboards for this game. That's another thing I like about it. You can actually rank yourself. Comparing to other people around the world.
All right. That's the next. All right. We're going to end this. We're going to end this with the next topic right now, and that is we're going to talk about Nintendo of Japan.
Ah, yes. One of the big names in gaming.
Yes, and a lot of people were surprised by the news at what they're doing. Yes, you heard about Fatal Frame.
Remakes of Fatal Frame.
Remakes, and also they're making another new Fatal Frame game.
Which I am actually looking forward to.
And there's also the remix of Nintendo Remix 1 and 2 on Wii U disc.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, I remembered a lot of people were talking about this. It's like, and there's also the Bayonetta 2.
The Bayonetta 2 released for Wii U.
Yeah, which they also are going to add in either the DLC or the disc.
Yeah.
Which kind of, a lot of people are questioning, why can't we get that in the U.S.? Well, because it's more optional there than it is in the U.S. And, of course, having it on physical copy version on Wii U, which nobody has ever played before, which I'm pretty sure some of the gamers who played that game would probably be like, what is Bayonetta?
Yes, I mean, I've never played Bayonetta, yet I know what it is.
Yes, and I have the Xbox version of it. And the reason why Nintendo bought this exclusive is because what happened was, according to an interview from Platinum Games, they were talking about the issue. You remember there was an issue with the PlayStation 3, which the loading time took a lot longer than the Xbox 360 version. When they first released it,
I do remember that.
Yeah, there was an issue with that game. And that game that game kind of upset a lot of people. And I remember that game because the loading times for the PS3 version versus the Xbox 360 version, a lot of people found that the Xbox 360 version loaded a lot better.
Yes, and I do remember that. I had a bunch of friends who would actually play that during their breaks in school. They would have the game up in the student center.
Yeah, and it was and of course, you know, you had people bitching about it to Sega that the PS3 version doesn't load fast. Why is it taking so long to load fast? And they were trying to they demanded that this thing should have a patch and everything. And Sega was like, no, we can't. You're gonna have to talk to Platinum Games about this.
I know some companies are bad about their patches.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of people brought up this issue with Sega about this, and that's what caused them to get upset about it.
Very true.
And it wasn't really. It pissed off Sega.
It did.
And of course, according to some people, it didn't sell that well.
No, it did not. It was mainly like Bayonetta basically was considered like a cult hit.
Yeah, a cult hit. And a lot of people don't realize that it didn't sell well in Japan. It sold okay in the US, about a few thousand, you know, about around 800 something copies. 800,000 copies in this or something copies about this. I don't know the exact number. But
I don't either. We're just
because
kind of
we're kind of assuming this issue because a lot of people were hoping, a lot of fans hoped that they would bring out another sequel. Platinum Games would bring out another sequel, but it kind of hit up when we found out that Nintendo was interested in buying the rights as an exclusive to the game because really they were asking a lot of companies if they would gladly do it. Sega said no.
Very true.
And Nintendo was willing to put out the money for it.
And as you know now, like Sega's kind of bad about their exclusives since the uproar of like Sonic being ported to a Nintendo system.
Yeah, the thing about that one is the same issue with Bayonetta 1. They had an issue with being ported into the PS3. I remember in an interview they had an issue with it.
They really did. I mean,
because you have to realize Japanese developers had a hard time trying to develop games for the PS3 at first, and then when I remember they did Microsoft bought an exclusive for a certain game, which is Tales of Vesperia. They were trying to ask him. They paid for exclusives, DLC content for it,
which they didn't get. And Tales of Vesperia was actually ported to both Xbox and PS3.
Yeah, and of course, you know, they bought them. They gave them the money to do this. Microsoft paid them the money to do this, and instead taught them how to, you know, port games to PS3. From what I heard from a Japanese developer who honestly talked about this issue.
No, I think we did. Yeah, we did a while back, didn't we?
Yeah, we did a while back, and of course, this issue kind of, you know, brought to our attention about why, you know, Japan didn't want to go into that. We'll go into that later. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't want to really go into that right now.
Yeah, because it was kind of it's a really big problem though, because Nintendo right now, you know, considering how bad, you know, the sales are of the Wii U, and most people bought the 3DS, and then we hear now that they're bringing out a new 3DS version.
Yeah, which I hope actually saves Nintendo's rear end.
I don't know, because I heard a lot of stuff about the new Nintendo 3DS. And I have to agree with certain people about this new 3DS that it's a little bit too late for that. Yeah,
I mean, even with those little figure support for the touchpad, Is that, yeah,
Also, the
yeah,
amiibo. I think they were trying to do it for the amiibo.
yes. Those little amiibo figures.
Yeah, I think
Like,
they're
you
trying
just
to
have,
make it like a mini GameCube, so you can play GameCube games on it, which is the biggest issue.
yeah. I gotta say, this does bring up a few red flags if you really think about it.
Because really, they honestly are releasing, the GameCube controller attachment to it, and it's like,
Yeah. Honestly, I am really concerned now that I really do think of it a little more.
because this is like Sega all over again.
And Sega as a standalone company did not do well.
I know in history, because the fact that they try to release certain, like they released like attachments to everything. Like, you remember the 32X and all that other stuff from the Sega Genesis, like the Sega CD, that really screwed them over with money.
I directly quote the Angry Video Game Nerd. With all this shit attached to the Sega, it looks like it's on life support.
That's pretty much what we remembered about that thing. My mom did not want to buy it because it was expensive as hell.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it was like everything like 32X.
I didn't have the luxury of both the 32X and the Sega CD.
I know, and it's like you most people prefer the NES.
over this like.
Yeah, because you had like freaking arcade games on it. You had like anything that was on it. Almost a lot of games on the NES.
It was mainly like the Sega CD with the Sega 32X. It was a complete mess of wires. Oh
yeah, I remember.
I still remember that.
I remember. But Nintendo, in the past they've been doing a lot of stuff that's opposite. I can understand the issue with trying to, spend less money in order to make a profit, which is understandable. That's a great strategy. But,
they're not executing it well.
They're not executing it well enough to actually get things done. And especially when you have, they're spending all the money on advertising it on YouTube. They're spending a lot of money on it.
In my opinion, this is coming back to bite Shigeru Miyamoto in the ass.
I know. It's like, I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either, but his business practices are kind of slipping.
Well, because you have to realize, the Nintendo seal of quality issue.
Yes, and there are a lot of third-party stuff going on with Nintendo.
I know, and a lot of the third parties are trying to either avoid them because they don't have the requirements to put their games on the system, because a lot of expectations for the system to be powerful at the same time good enough to put their games on it. That's the issue.
Yeah, that is a big issue right now.
Because I know that some developers are like, the system isn't really, because they talk about it being, having the Power PC chip, and both systems you're basically putting a freaking programming on a freaking Apple computer in order to put the games on the system.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like,
and I'm actually even thinking about it, like this also brings up the issue of the 3DS itself.
Yeah.
I am still satisfied with my first gen 3DS I got when it first came out.
Yeah, and the thing about that is that people don't realize this, is that the 3DS is actually a pretty good system. It's not bad. It's not.
I have both the Vita and the PS3, and I mean both the Vita and the 3DS.
And yet no one wants to buy those. Yet no one wants to buy the PS Vita.
Honestly, the Vita's a misunderstated system.
I know, and the thing is, not many Japanese are buying it. Surprising.
It's a shame, man. It's actually hit the American market pretty well.
And and it actually has a lot of RPGs. If they want JRPGs, it has JRPGs. It has Persona, for Christ's sakes. You can actually get other RPGs on that thing.
And actually, I do have a visual novel called X Blaze for it.
Exploits.
Yeah, X Blaze is one of the visual novels you can get for the PS Vita.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that I myself, I wish I had money to get myself a system, but it's like that's not going to happen.
It's like me. I mean,
I can understand the Japanese issue with money. It's like it's not going to happen unless I have money.
Yeah, and like I don't have the PS4 right now. I had to wait till Christmas to get it.
That's pretty much Nintendo's issue. I can understand. Unless we have the money to do it, we're not risking it.
Yeah, I mean, right now, the way the economy is, we're pretty much screwed.
Yeah, especially the Japanese economy is screwed too. It's like, oh man, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's all due to the population in Japan. I mean, it's on the decline.
That's because hearing the rumor about that, men hate. It's not men hating women. It's more like men having issues trusting women.
Exactly.
And it's not something that's understandable. But come on now, you're gonna get paranoid over a woman who basically is being nice to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you don't trust the woman, you might as well just be like, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like I don't. I can understand the issue behind it, but it's like you gotta learn to relax, calm down, and just be reasonable and rational about it.
Yeah, and mainly just shut the fuck up.
It's like you don't need to be if you can't afford to date a woman. That's understandable. If a woman wants $60,000 a year, and that doesn't set your standards, that's pretty much the issue in Japan right now. It's like
it is a very huge issue.
Yeah, that's like if you want women to be relaxed about being married and everything, you probably should just don't get married.
Get married and just shut up for once.
No, it's not. I don't think we should force it on another culture to get married. It's like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, but
that's
honestly,
being racist for us. That's like being racist.
Still, you gotta admit, due to this whole thing, Japan is suffering in its economy, just like the U.S. is suffering via money.
Well, that's because they've been loaning out money.
That's true, kind of think of it.
Well, as for considering the sales of the Wii U, you realize that it's at around 7.1 million.
Yes, it is.
And surprisingly, it's not getting any exclusive or any third party games yet. Xbox gets the third party games.
That's true.
It's so ridiculous.
As well as PC. PC, it works out well for them.
It works out well for them on PC and in the market, but from Microsoft's side. But Nintendo, they're not getting a lot of games. They're only releasing certain amount of games. Hopefully, Super Smash Bros. Coming out soon for 3DS and Wii U, which I'm assuming the 3DS is going to outsell the Wii U.
I'm honestly, I think the Wii U is doing good right now on its own.
It's doing good on its own, but this is how I predict this. I predict the 3DS is going to outsell the Wii U because they have a lot of an install base with that one for Super Smash Bros. Because people are playing that system.
And I actually rather like the fact that the Virtual Console works so well on the Wii U.
Yeah, it does. I actually bought a couple of games on it. I bought Super Mario Brothers. I bought, a lot of games that, it works pretty well for it.
Yeah, and I bought Mega Man X on it. One of my favorite classics.
Yeah. I also bought Metroid, and I was like, oh man, this really reminds me of the days when I kept sucking at that game.
Yeah. Honestly, I sucked so bad at freaking freaking Mega Man X. I mean, I had to use a guide to get me through it.
You know, and it's so fun, you know, remembering the old days, trying to play it, and you'd be like, oh man, I suck at this game. It was really hard, because most games were very hard back then, and that's what Nintendo was all about, giving you that challenge. And you remember when Shigeru Miyamoto talked about how pathetic casuals were?
Yes.
And,
yes.
you know, I kind of, you know what, I kind of have to agree with him.
I would too.
I would agree with him because he points out that we should challenge ourselves. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I don't really, you know, because there's like a lot of games that are hard. And yeah, they're hard. But you can actually have fun trying to challenge yourself, trying to beat them. That was what it was all about back then.
Yes.
You know,
honestly, like right now, I'm playing Destiny right now. I'm challenging the crap out of myself, constantly getting swarmed by enemies.
You know, and it's
I'm both a hardcore and a casual.
And you don't always have to be, you know, great at the game. You don't always have to be like. You just have to challenge yourself and figure out how to beat this game. You know,
and honestly, I don't agree with that. You filthy casual bull crap.
Because it's not that way. You have to realize, you know, that was back then, and a lot of people like misquoted him probably about that, and I'm like,
yeah, honestly, like I'm a casual gamer to an extent, but yet I'm a hardcore gamer at the same time.
Yeah, and I'm not really upset with Shigeru Miyamoto. He's not a bad guy. You got to realize he made all these games. He made Super Mario Bros. He made Mario Bros. He made Donkey Kong.
I know there's people who still play those things, and I'm proud of people like that.
Yeah, it's like the Famicom. You know, he made a lot of games happen for.
He made a lot of them.
Yeah, he helped Konami become famous because of Metal Gear.
Yeah, and Konami was the ones who actually published the Yu-Gi-Oh games and the Yu-Gi-Oh TCG.
Yeah, and also they did certain games. Like my favorite game was Bayou Billy.
I've never heard of that one.
You never heard of Bayou Billy?
No, I have not.
It's a game that I used to remember when I was a kid. I used to play that a lot. And there was also another game called Top Secret Lost Episodes or something like that. It was actually a very interesting game from Vic Takai.
Never heard of that company either.
Yeah, well, it was like a spy game. It was like Go-Go 13, Go-Go 13 or something like that.
I have heard of Go-Go 13.
Yeah, it's Go-Go 13, Top Secret Lost Episodes, which is what it was called. And I used to remember playing that game, and that game, you know, it freezed up a lot. Every time I tried to reach a certain level, it freezed.
Honestly, that's IBM for you.
And that was on the NES, and I remembered that game, and I actually enjoyed playing it.
Okay, I apologize for the little IBM comment. Yes.
Yeah.
I know IBM went out of business a while back, but I know they're Lenovo now.
They're still around.
Yeah. But yes, I mean, it's kind of funny, like, with all the games I've played on SNES, I've never found one that froze on me.
Well, I remembered, because I know that game was... Due to the Nintendo seal of quality, that game kind of broke down. And I had one of the defective copies.
Ouch.
Yeah. I remember having it, and it was like, every time I tried to get up to a certain level of the game, it just...
really sucks.
It crashed. On a cartridge.
Yeah, and the only crashes really only happen with computers, which is surprising.
Yeah, but that's because, you know, when I was playing that game, I remember playing it, and me and a buddy of mine went I remember me and a friend of mine went and played it of Go-Go 13, and then it suddenly just went doing that whole pixelated screw up thing.
Yes, I do remember that.
That's a crash.
Ah, yes. Now I remember that crap. I remember that. That really did like freaking cheese me off.
Yeah, and I was trying to beat the game, and then suddenly every time it does that, it freezed or it just does the pixelated.
It actually did that to me with Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah.
I remember playing Donkey Kong Country. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
like would come out of my TV. It scared the living crap out of me.
Well, that's the thing, you know. I really loved certain Japanese games on that thing, and it was like Go-Go 13 happened to be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And there was also let's see what else. Master Blaster.
Oh, I remember that one.
And that one was a fun game, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was a shame that game, you know, they tried to do they did an attempted remake of it, and I know Nintendo had it.
That's true.
It was like that game was fun. I wish they would consider bringing it back again.
There are a lot of HD remixes I want to see.
Yeah. There's a lot of them. And of course, you know, Nintendo attempted a lot of HD remixes.
They really did with the NES thing they did.
Yeah, but here's the thing that surprised me about this. Capcom released Resident Evil.
Oh yes, I remember.
They released it the new Resident Evil remake of it for GameCube.
Yes, and
I found out they're planning to release it on PS3, the new version, on the PS3, the Xbox 360, but not on Wii U.
What?
That's
I remember Resident Evil being very successful on the GameCube at one point in time.
Yeah. Especially, you know, here's what I found out. There's even another game in Japan that is called Kamen Rider.
Oh yes, Kamen Rider. I have a friend who plays a fighting game on the PS1 from Japan.
Yeah, and there's also a Wii U version for it too. There's like a Kamen Rider, I think it was called Battle War or something like that, Battle Ride War or something like that, and they made it, and it looked pretty interesting. It's just a shame that they won't release it in the U.S. because you have to realize Kamen Rider isn't that popular here like it used to be. It used to be known as Mask Rider when Saban released it.
Right now, like the latest installment though is Kamen Rider Dragon Rider.
Yeah, and they tried that, but it didn't sell. It didn't do so well.
Which is a shame. I mean, being kind of a Sentai game like Power Rangers.
Yeah, and I remember watching the first one. It didn't last that long, and it was a shame that they couldn't really do much with that series. And of course,
really a big shame.
especially when I watched the Henshi series of Kamen Rider, I was like watching it. These are not bad looking shows.
Yeah, I mean, there are moments where it's like corny, like Power Rangers, like some of the fight scenes. But yeah, I know really what you're getting at.
Yeah, it's like it's hard to market in the U.S. because they want to make it Americanized, and that's understandable.
Well, there are times when Americanization goes a little bit too far.
I know, especially censorship and all that other stuff.
You got the licensing, the censorship. What to edit, what not to edit.
And it's the same thing.
I mean, mainly in the end, what goes into all this Americanization takes out from what the game can make.
Yeah, there's also. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna probably end the Nintendo subject here because it's kind of
running a bit.
Yeah, it's running a bit too long right there. We're gonna go ahead and talk about Sony Japan, the issues with Sony Japan.
Yes, and it goes with our theme of Osterbreed, Nintendo, thanks Japan.
Thanks Japan. Yeah, because we basically talk about this.
This is something we need to get to for a long time, though.
Yeah, Sony, I never really had an issue with Sony. A lot of people are having issues with Sony right now, and you probably heard a lot of the issues.
Yes, very true. With a lot of their games being released.
Being hacked, being all the above. It's kind of funny. I'm surprised no one ever attacked Nintendo over the issues with Project M.
That's true. Project M was just wow. Next.
Yeah, and then people are just like worried about Nintendo. And yet, there's a lot of issues, considering the game, the sales of this. I've seen a lot of Japanese users streaming on Twitch.
That's true.
And especially some of them are actually playing Battlefield. And a lot of people were joking about how it's so funny that first-person shooters are so bad, and yet I've seen Japanese people playing, Battlefield 4. On Twitch.
And it's got like I said, I'm playing Destiny right now. I wonder how long it's going to be for somebody who streams this on Twitch.
I can imagine, because the fact that you'll see a bunch of Japanese users probably streaming it right now, playing like Tokyo Strip or something like that.
Yeah.
Or some Gundam game, which is planning to come out soon on the PS4.
Little known fact about something I want to get. I want to get a PSP again and order off a Japanese site. Gundam vs. Gundam Next Plus. I love Gundam games.
I want to get one of the Macross games. If I ever get a PSP, because I lost my PSP, and I'm upset that I still...
Mine kind of malfunctioned, because like whenever it's like third or fourth loading screen, it starts to slow down.
You probably need to update the memory.
Ugh, that sucks.
You probably need a new memory card for it.
Ouch.
That's probably it.
Yeah, well, on to Sony.
Yes, on to Sony. Well, I don't really have a problem with it. It's like they're having an issue selling in Japan because of the fact that PS3 is still around. They're waiting until...
Which is funny, because Sony in the first place is a Japanese name.
Yeah, but the thing is that a lot of people are buying into the PS3 and the Xbox 360 that they rather, play that system first and play some of the games on it, because they have more, they're releasing more on that system than they are on the new system. But here's the issue, is because it's a new system, and developers, in Japan are pretty much used to programming on the PS3.
Yes, and it's kind of strange,
I'm not really, because from what I understand, some of them also brought up, and I even read this on 2chan, is like some of the games are expensive.
That is a good point.
It's kind of understandable, because compared to paying $100, because that's what the cost is for a game in Japan, is $100 to $80 in Japan, or $90 in Japan.
That's true.
Because if you try to import the game here in the U.S., it's a lot more expensive.
That's true, and honestly, we're getting the better part of the deal with we're having to pay only $60 as opposed to $100.
Well, you remember back then, cartridges for Nintendo are like $60.
That's true.
$60 to $70, or $60 to $70, if I remember correctly.
That's why I was rented games back then.
Yeah, back then it was, and then you have Sony, who brought out the PS1 with $50 to $40 games.
Which I think was a pretty cool deal for us back then.
Yeah, it was back then. Yeah, because you remember that they were selling those. They were selling, especially you paid like $50 for it. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And then you had the used games that were like $20 to $30. It was like, that was heaven for us back then for PS1.
Yeah.
And
honestly,
then
PS1 was really huge way back in the day.
I know, and I remember buying. Originally, my first import was on the PS1.
And which actually import was it?
The Gundam game.
Nice.
It was like Char's Counterattack.
I do remember playing. Mainly an import I played was Gundam Battle Assault.
Yeah, I even got that one. They released it back.
That was a very good Gundam fighting game.
It was actually a very good Gundam fighting game, and a lot of people like played the modded, PS1s and everything.
And if you think about it, like modding is also a big trouble for Sony as well.
I know because a lot of people want to play games, but now they're offering the chance for you to play them on the PS4 because a lot of people have a hard time buying a game. They want to buy a game, but they can't play it on their system because of the whole international restriction. Which, thanks Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because of the whole, region lockout. That was Nintendo's idea, not Sony's idea. Even though they had it with the DVDs, that was Nintendo's idea. Do not blame them for that. Now they don't have region lock on the PS4. But
that's true.
Nintendo has a region lock on their system. So
yeah,
I don't know why people are hating on it.
It's all due to region coding.
Yeah, and it's like, you think that everyone who's smart enough to know the logic behind it, they obviously want to hate on Sony more because of what issues they had, like security and all this other shit. It's like,
and like also I know people who have like outright hacked all their systems.
Mm-hmm.
Which is disappointing. Like if you hack your system, you void your warranty.
I know, and I guess they don't want. They probably had an issue with the movie industry about Sony. It's like, look, Sony's trying to make money. That's simple as that. That's the simple fact. Same with Nintendo.
That's true.
And yet, I don't blame them. But the fact that Sony, did all this for the sake of trying to get people to buy the system, because the fact is, yeah, it has no region lock on it. It has nothing on it, and yet you insist on attacking them.
It does not make sense.
It does not make sense. And you think that Sony's being the worst oppressor of all time. Explain to me about this. Someone send me a message. Send me a text or something.
Yeah.
It's like,
It boggles our minds.
It's just most people don't really care about that. But here's the thing. They're bringing out a lot of great, interesting games from the Tokyo Game Show for Sony.
Yes, Tokyo Game Show, it really showcases a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, especially last year they showed Yakuza game.
Ah, yes, the new Yakuza, huh?
Yeah, the Yakuza game, and it was like the Yakuza game, and it was like that actually looked interesting. I would love to import that game.
It will be interesting to play.
It would be interesting to play, but right now it's like I don't have the money for it, and that's the shame too. Because I don't really care to ask for money, because I don't want to ask people begging. And it's like that. A lot of people are having an issue with that one.
Yeah, like I said, we're not getting paid for any of this.
We're not getting paid for this, so stop bothering us. Stop harassing us. Leave us alone. We're making a show here.
Like, we're just doing this to entertain.
Yeah, we're just doing this to entertain ourselves because we're bored as hell.
Yeah, I do apologize for the bit of a disorganized review of Osterbreed in the first. Honestly, I came in a little bit unprepared.
Yeah, because I asked him if you got a review on Astro Beat. I was like, okay, we'll do it, because he's being honest. Okay?
Yeah, I sort of
we're giving you full disclosure here, ladies and gentlemen. We're not being paid to do this. Because everyone's talking about the hashtag Gamergate thing, and it's like, you're going to accuse us of recommending a bad game, and it's like, look, he likes the game. I haven't played it yet. It's his opinion versus mine.
This goes along with their thing about being, like I said, it's a Japanese game from a Japanese developer. Thanks, Japan.
Thanks,
And,
Japan.
and I mean that, and this time we're saying thanks Japan in a good way for this one.
Yeah, because this is nothing to be like negative or stereotypical about it. It's just we do like Japanese games. We played a lot of Japanese games when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the games, he played Pokemon. He played Pokemon. I played Digimon.
Yeah, I played both Pokemon and Digimon myself.
Yes, he played. I had the original Keychain game.
As did I. I mean, it was. I mean, we thought that was the best shit in the world.
Yes, and including Tamagotchi. It's like
I killed my Tamagotchi.
I know. I killed my Tamagotchi as well. I killed him. I killed mine. I'll admit that. I'm a poor excuse of a man who killed my Tamagotchi.
And the funny thing is, like, while I was at school all day, my mom learned how to take care of my Digimon on my keychain. I am not kidding you. She learned how to take care of my Digimon on my keychain while I was at school.
Oh well. Yeah, the fact that Sony, this is the thing, Sony. I know most people might think Sony's like, trying to, pull off some stuff. But let's face it, they have a lot of games planned out. I hope they do. Because,
I do too.
Yeah, because there's a lot of interesting games there that are coming out for the PS4. And it's like they don't really have that many games coming out for it. It's like mostly we're hearing is about Batman and the crew.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and I mean, Destiny was hyped to hell and actually paid off.
I know, and people were like talking about the issue because let's put it this way: the release of all the systems in Japan, they all struggled.
Yes,
they all
did.
struggled.
It's also like one thing you got to remember about Japan though. Gaming may be a big thing over there, but one thing that's becoming really big over in Japan now is the arcade scene. Yeah,
and there's a lot of, and I know the arcade scene is really big in Japan. Especially, there's like one game I wish that Sega would release. And you want to know what that game is?
Which would be?
Border Break or Break Border, whatever it's called on Sega.
Mm-hmm.
It's an arcade game. I wish they released it on console, but that's not going to happen because I know Sega's like, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, honestly, one game I'm really glad that reached the US that was on Xbox itself was Jet Set Radio.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, that was an excellent game.
Well, let's see here.
But Jet Set Radio and Jet Set Radio Future.
Yeah, here's something that they're doing right now. Denki Bunko, Genki Buko Fighting Climax for PS3 Vita as playable trailer. Hero Rank. Okay, for PS Vita, there's Phantasy Star Nova.
Oh yes, Phantasy Star. That's
coming out on PS Vita. Phantasy Star Online coming out on PC and Vita. Puyo Puyo Tetris on PS4. I'm sorry if I can't pronounce the stuff. Shining Resonance for PS3. Sonic Boom Rise of the Lyric is on Wii U.
Which is interesting.
And the World of the End of Eclipse is on PS Vita. Yakuza 0, which will be on PS3.
I know the new Danganronpa's coming for PS Vita.
Yeah. And also the Gundam games. Don't forget the Gundam games on PS Vita.
As well as the new Persona 5.
Yeah, they're also going to release Batman Arkham Knight on PS4. Dying Light on PS4 and PS3.
Dying Light, I definitely want to give a try.
The Lego Movie game on PS4, which they already did.
I gotta say, there are a lot of interesting Sony games coming out.
They are going to release Battlefield Hardline Dragon Acquisition, and
Dragon Age, yes. Dragon Age Inquisition is very, very anticipated.
Yeah, they're gonna re-release Flowers on the Vita, which was on PS3.
Yes, Flowers was. I never tried it, but I actually played a game that was like it called Proteus.
And there's also Gekyukin Heaven Double Scramble, PS Vita and PSP. Let's see, Omega Quintet for PS4. Let's see, what else?
Let's see, you got Persona Q also.
Yeah, Persona Q, which is coming out as well, and that's kind of the thing right there.
Yeah, the Persona games are becoming very, very huge in the U.S.
Because that's the only thing that people play. They like the storyline of it.
Yes, and actually the unlockable characters too. Like, as you go through this, I play Persona 4 a lot.
Yeah, and a lot of people like. I'm pretty sure a lot of Japanese are playing Destiny right now, like you are doing, trying to reach up to the highest ranking level ever.
I didn't quite catch that little thing right there.
Mm-hmm.
What'd you say again?
I'm pretty sure people are playing, Destiny.
Yes, like right now the level cap is 20, which I'm trying to reach.
Yeah. Which everyone's trying to do. Did you know they're also trying to bring out Octodad in Japan? Launching it on PS4.
Oh, yes, Octodad. That very, very awkward game.
Yeah, it's called Octodado. Don't call me an octopus. Yeah, they renamed it as like... it's something like Akidado. Don't call me octopus. Which originally the original title was Octodad, but they decided to change it and call it Octodad Deadliest Catch. I'm a cowboy. They could have done that with
Yeah.
They
honestly, I played it, but I tried.
They could have put the Bon Jovi song on it.
Yes. On a steel horse I ride. I'm wanted, dead or alive. I gotta say, man, that was honestly even playing the game Octodad Deadliest Catch. The controls were so awkward.
I know, but that's what it was meant to be. It was meant to be a comical game. Because Octodad had a problem trying to...
Honestly, okay, this may have offended a few people, but it sort of had the physics like Fallout.
Yeah, because it was meant to be, a game about having a bad sense of control. That's the issue with that game. It was kind of like Surgery, that game called Surgery.
You look at some of the unified, some of the stuff, like, if you move around, like, some of the stuff in the environment, it's just like Fallout. Mm-hmm. Fallout or Skyrim. If you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's also another one, I believe, that they released, and that was Danganronpa 2.
Yeah, Danganronpa.
Danganronpa.
Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc.
Yeah, which I believe they already released it out. It's already out, and there's also they also released it Warriors Onichi 3.
Ah, yes, Warriors Orochi.
And a lot of people were talking about Velocity X2.
Yes, Velocity X2, which actually is free on PSN right now.
Yeah,
for PlayStation Plus members.
I lost all my monthly subscription. I might as well pay it off as soon as I.
Oh, sorry, I just got sliced by a dragon. Yes, I was literally just zooming in on trying to snap an enemy. All of a sudden, this drag comes up beside me and slices me.
Wow.
Yeah. In this game, be very aware of your environment. Because you will have moments like
there's
that.
There's also Hyperdimensional Neptunia Rebirth for Vita,
which I'm actually looking very much forward to.
A lot of people talk about that game. It's like that game was all about little girls that are like Nintendo console.
Yeah, like it's that one's Xbox, one PlayStation, one Nintendo.
It's basically a parody. It was like that sounds like an interesting RPG.
And they tell you, like, and I'm
And
telling you,
they did an animated series on it too. And I just watched it.
No, they made a joke. One who's fit to lead is depends on one's breast size.
I was like,
I laughed my head off at that little joke.
I know they make fun of the little girls, and it's like, oh, that's sad.
No, like okay, it's like okay, you're saying girls like okay, you're saying whoever has the bigger boobs is fit to lead.
That's kind of the point.
I'm gonna say the Japanese and their thing with tits.
I don't know. It's kind of one of those pride versus inside joke thing.
Okay, I gotta say this may seem kind of wrong to some people, but
why it isn't making Dead
to me,
Island sequel.
like a girl with a flat chest that's over 20, I find it damn adorable. That if you look at it, most girls are in Japan over 20 have the flattest chest you'll ever see.
Not necessarily. There's some that do enhance themselves. There's some that do, and I seen some Japanese chicks before, dude. There are some chicks that do have natural breast size.
Hmm.
They're
Man,
like
it's mostly like the ones with flatter chests that are featured though.
because there's a preference. I'm not gonna deny it. There's a preference for men that prefer small chested women, and there's
Yeah. But
I don't want to talk about it because that's kind of an uncomfortable subject right there.
And that goes back to the whole gaming thing, though. Like if you look at some Japanese games, some girls have these huge ass tits. I mean, like, what the heck?
Yeah, and I have to admit that kind of does question a lot about the whole issue with Anita Sarkeesian talking about it.
I know.
I think Anita should talk about that subject because if she really cares about women in gaming as sex objects, she should talk about that issue. Try to bring out a bunch of issues about that.
Yeah, I mean, like breast size is a huge thing in Japanese games.
Not necessarily. It's just that's also an anime as well.
Yeah, that's true, and it's like a lot of people say like chest size is a kind of a bit of a joke. It's a running joke in Japanese culture.
It's because it's like there's no shame in that either, and a lot of women are like, it's like I don't really think that should be talked about, but then again, it should be talked about because the fact that it may be a running joke for Japanese women, but let's put it this way: if I don't. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a Japanese woman, don't get offended by this. If you feel that your body is, if you have big boobs, don't be ashamed of them.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't be ashamed of them.
And also this goes back to the whole Americanization thing.
We don't honestly. Most women should never care
that,
about their breast size. They should never really care about that. That's not. It should never be.
This really does bring up to the fact, like, a lot of Sony's games, there are times where actually the US had to reduce the breast size of some women in games just due to the Americanization.
That's true, and they also tried to censor out the clothing and everything.
Yeah, and this is what hurts the games, the sales in America now.
Because let's face it. There's no way people are gonna buy a game about a girl like Bayonetta, for example. That sold okay, even though most people had an issue with the content of the game.
Yes, basically her whole clothing line being her whole bodysuit being made out of her hair.
But what's so funny? They're releasing DLCs. Like they announced the Star Fox uniform for Bayonetta 2.
Which is actually pretty interesting.
I was laughing about that too. I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, the way Sony's hurting in the Japan right now, it all ties into the way they're hurting in the US as well.
Okay, let's see here. Well, the thing about Sony right now is that they're also going to release Grand Theft Auto 5. for the PS4.
Ah, yes, GTA. The game that gets a bad rap.
I don't really have an issue with it.
Well, I mean, like, all this
People
whole,
like playing that thing online. I'm like, I don't really care to play it. I don't have the money for it, so...
Excuse me for harping on this, even though it's
Go ahead.
over and done with. I know people still harp on the fact that the violence in the Grand Theft Auto caused this guy to kill someone. That's the freaking reason that the game has received such a bad rap.
I know, and it's a shame too. Especially Call of Duty got a bad rep for a guy beating up on a kid in England because he and it's like you know, I can understand kids making fun of you because you suck at the game, but you got to realize if you really suck at the game and you played Call of Duty, I get upset too.
Yeah,
but there's no point in going to somebody's house and beating them up because they shot you so many times. You might as well accept the fact that 1, you're not good enough at the game. 2, move on. 3, just
and also get this
and try to and think positively that you could do better at the game. You can.
The funny thing is, right now, Call of Duty players are bitching about Destiny since they didn't get what they want. Like all over the forums right now, Call of Duty players are bitching about Destiny.
They gave out DLCs. You know what I'm upset about? You know what I'm upset about Activision? Is that they never released the DLCs for Call of Duty Ghost DLCs for Wii U. That's what I'm upset about.
And that's another thing. Like, barely any DLCs come out for Wii U now.
I know, and a lot of the developers are avoiding it because they make this same old excuse that the install base is so small, but yet they're willing to put DLCs for Wii U because they paid for it.
That's true.
And it's like you realized you have there's 7 million users on that thing, and yet you want to bitch about people playing Call of Duty on Xbox, and you're willing to give them the install base because they have a less of an install base because they paid you money.
That's true. I mean, this is honestly, the fan base is also the reason why Sony's hurting in Japan right now. That's like the fan base as well. A lot of the fan base ties into game sales and system sales.
I know, especially when I heard when they first released it. They released it in the U.S. and then of course in Japan they didn't release it because of the Christmas time.
That's true. It's very true.
And the thing about that was it wasn't really technically their fault because it was basically a business decision.
Mm-hmm.
They decided to go release it on Christmas time in America, and this was coming from 2chan, not 4chan, 2chan, who basically said that they are bringing this out because of Christmas time.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Japan.
Thanks, Japan.
Thanks, Japan. It's like, I don't really care because it's really not an issue. Because it's like you could, if you honestly can tell that the gaming industry crash is probably coming soon.
Yeah.
Because a lot of Nintendo probably would survive it because they have a few billion left, but Sony, that's a question. Are they? They have probably billions of assets. They already sold some of it.
That's true, and I remember hearing that in some news.
Yeah, they sold their PC, division. It's like, and they're more,
Which
and
is
they,
disappointing.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we've been in fairly a lot of what this is what's been going on.
Yeah,
for what we talked about the Americanization, censorship, fan base, sales. I think we just about covered Sony.
Okay, and then we'll probably end it now with Xbox.
Yes, Xbox in Japan.
Yes, Xbox in Japan. You heard the news, right?
Yes, I did.
What did you think of it?
Honestly, I have no clue.
Okay. Well, when they first... Okay, we heard that it was released in Japan, and we found out that only a few thousand sales of the Xbox One has been sold in Japan.
Honestly, though, this just sounds like Sony all over again.
Not really, because Sony... They released it... They released the system under good pretenses.
Good point.
But the problem is that most Japanese are more focused on playing on the PS3. The Xbox One, well, you got to face the facts here. Xbox, isn't that popular. The Xbox brand isn't that popular, especially when they released it, Xbox One. Xbox One was like a big bulky system.
And the fact is, I think that what ties into that is the fact that Xbox is American made.
Yes, it's an American-made system, but here's the issue that Japanese had with the system. The Xbox, the original Xbox, not the Xbox One, but the original Xbox, was big and bulky. It wasn't able to fit. It was too big for a Japanese house to fit into an apartment that is that small.
That's true. You got to consider people. Apartments for us are not like apartments for them.
It's like you got to realize they live like in a freaking in a small like 8 feet house room.
That's true.
And it's like you got like one room, one bathroom, one toilet, and it's like their houses are not that big. Their apartment spaces are not that huge.
And honestly, like for anyone to get something like bigger than that, from what I hear, you have to have a lot of yen.
Yeah, a lot of money for to put that in the house.
And like, this is the original Xbox. They were really hurting. Personally though, the sales of Xbox One in Japan all tied to a lot of it being because it's American made, like I said.
It may be American made, but when they released it, the Xbox 360, which actually did pretty well, but it didn't sell a lot.
That's true.
Because they listened to a lot of the Japanese and they wanted to make something similar to the PlayStation, which can stand on its own. Stand like they did the whole standing up thing and everything, and then of course they did what PlayStation did.
That's true. That is very true.
But it didn't sell well because they didn't like the camera, they didn't like the games on it because it didn't have that many Japanese games,
and they didn't like the Xbox policies at first.
Yeah, they didn't like the Xbox policies, especially the
fact you had to log in every 24 freaking hours.
No, not really. It was basically, it was expensive.
True.
To my understanding about the Xbox 360, when they first released it, they had the games for it.
Xbox One with the 24-hour thing. The 24-hour thing was mainly the Xbox One when it first came out.
Yeah, but I'm just bringing up the Xbox 360.
Ah, okay.
The Xbox 360, I'm just explaining the history about why Japanese didn't really like Microsoft that much.
Mm-hmm.
Because they made a lot of mistakes in the past in Japan. They released the Xbox 360 on good intentions that hopefully would sell, but it didn't sell well. They tried everything from buying exclusives. They had like a lot of interesting games on the Xbox 360.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem was no one was buying it. They tried buying like video game exclusives. They tried everything. They tried to market an RPG. They tried to market everything, and that didn't work out for them.
That's true.
They tried putting they had Viva Pinata.
Which in the same way, that was a very unusual game.
Yeah, it was a very unusual game, but it was actually a very fun game. A lot of people praised that game for what? But the Japanese weren't really interested in that game.
It's sort of, I think because it's sort of tied in the Mexican culture thing.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't really. It was actually a very fun game. It was actually a very interesting game. It's just a shame that people didn't like it.
Yeah.
It's like most people didn't want to play on that system. It wasn't really cool to them. It wasn't really. It didn't feel like it was a very interesting game.
Yeah, but sorry if what I said kind of offended any like Mexican out there. And yeah.
Yeah, it's well. The thing about that game was it kind of fits that whole cute animal thing, but yet they don't want to buy into that either. There was also they tried Idolmaster on the Xbox.
I know about the Idolmaster anime though, but never knew about that.
They had a video game of it, and of course, they released it. They also had a Gundam game as well. It was like a first-person shooter type game, and that didn't happen.
Interesting.
They released it, but it wasn't that popular.
I see.
They even tried, Monster Hunter Frontier Online. That they released it.
Which I know it didn't go over in the States because it was all Japanese.
It was all in Japanese, and a lot of people. Heck, I was hoping for this game to come out in the unfortunately, Capcom wasn't really interested in buying the IP for it.
Honestly, if you think about it, Capcom is a little bit anal retentive about what they release.
I know, and the thing about it is that they had it's kind of funny though. They lost a lot of money focusing on what was it called? Planet, I think it was Ice Planet or something like that.
I'm not sure. We're talking about PlanetSide 2. That's an
PlanetSide. Not PlanetSide. That game. No, I'm talking about the other one.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was. Let me look, because I know Capcom.
Oh, Lost Planet.
Lost Planet, yeah.
The name just clicked when you said Ice Planet.
Yeah. They released that, and of course it didn't sell well. Lost Planet 3.
Honestly, Lost Planet was heavily focused on multiplayer.
It focused on multiplayer, but there's also Lost Planet 3, which didn't sell well.
Because it was straight multiplayer, from what I hear.
Yeah. But, the single-player campaign was okay. It's just they didn't... But, I don't know. A lot of people, didn't like that game.
And I can kind of see why. I played the first Lost Planet. The difficulty curve was steep.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
We have long-range scans of an anomaly in this location.
You're still trying to beat that game, Destiny.
Like, I'm playing all through this show because I'm actually trying to collect some reputation.
But here's the other thing we found out that Sony, that Microsoft did. They will not appear at the Tokyo Game Show.
Oh yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, because that
was really disappointing.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why they avoided doing that, because what happened was when they realized after the release of the Xbox One in Japan, they knew this was going to happen. They knew.
I gotta say the Japanese are really knowledgeable about what's going to happen.
Even the president of Xbox game development said we weren't going to go.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't really, get people to buy into the hype of the game. And it's like, let's face it, they tried everything. They knew that that Xbox isn't that really good in Japan. And yet last year when they were asked to bring the game, they asked if you're considering bringing the Xbox One to Japan, they were asked that question unexpectedly.
which I think did not go over well.
Yeah, it didn't go over well because, let's face it, they tried so hard to bring out the system. They could have made that same excuse that developers made, like the install base is so low, we need to, in the US, that we would consider bringing it into Japan, but we can't.
True enough.
Yeah, they could have made that same excuse, like every developer's been doing to Wii U. And it's like, they could have said, we can't because the install base in our country is very low, that we would probably consider putting it in Japan, but we won't be able to.
Very true on that
Yeah,
part.
because they don't have to be, I understand that they couldn't say no.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of the problem. They could have been like, made that same excuse, be like using Nintendo based on the install base that we have in Japan. We're not able to bring out the system here in Japan, and yet they did, because they felt that the Japanese would gladly buy the system because it's a very interesting system. Yet no one realizes it wasn't a very interesting system.
And then actually, this sort of ties into something you discussed with me a while back. The Xbox One spy and the spy scandal.
Yeah, that whole spy scandal kind of disrupted their chances of selling the system, and that was the issue. Why are you going to forcibly sell a camera on the system?
For those who haven't heard about that, mind filling them in?
Well, what happened was a person who worked for the government named, I think his name was Snowden.
Yeah, Snowden.
Yes, I think that's was his last name. Mr. Snowden kind of confessed to the media that the U.S. government has been specifically spying on specific people through the internet, hacking into the computer, including using Microsoft as their main to give them the access keys to hack into computer systems.
Mm-hmm.
To gain access to information, which kind of upset a lot of people, especially finding out about Microsoft doing this.
And you're using the Xbox 360's Kinect camera of all things.
Yes, which kind of brought up the point about the whole camera issue, about especially a lot of concerning about children and everything.
That's true. And there was actually something that happened with the original Kinect for 360. Some person was caught dancing naked in front of the camera while playing Dance Central.
Yeah, and that kind of it was like the most embarrassing moment for Dance Central.
Yeah,
and it was on the. I don't think it was posted on the internet after that.
I read that on the.
I heard about it. Yeah.
Not the proudest moment for Xbox.
I know, and pretty much Xbox, especially the other one. You remember the whole they couldn't recognize black people camera thing for the Kinects?
Yes.
Yeah, because unfortunately it could not detect a person in a dark shirt or someone with dark skin. It was an issue, but luckily they patched it up.
Very true.
I was laughing about that joke. I was like, it can't recognize black people. The Kinects can't. It's like, the Kinects can't recognize black people on the system. That's racist.
For any game developer these days, racism seems to be a huge hot button.
Yeah, especially the Not My Shield one.
Not My Shield?
Yeah, that's something that happened with the Gamergate.
Fill me in on that, because I didn't hear about that.
Gamergate, turns out, has a new hashtag, which is called Not My Shield. Basically, it's like a parody of that whole cancel Colbert thing with that Not Your Asian sidekick thing from Twitter.
Ah, I see.
Basically, they what it was is that it kind of happened with her, with this group of these group of individuals, because of course the media kind of talked about the stereotypical gamer as being a white cis male.
Interesting.
But this whole hashtag not your shield is basically telling people, well, what about black people? What about Asian people? What about Hispanics? What about those people who play video games as well?
That's true.
Don't use us as an excuse for your. That's pretty much what Not Your Shield was. Don't use us as an excuse.
Yo, got another call.
Okay, go ahead.
Yo, what's
But
up?
it wasn't really that much of an issue. It was pretty much a big issue because it was a really interesting topic. A lot of people on Gamergate were talking about this, and I'm sorry if I'm stopping on this subject, but it kind of blew the gasket on the whole media thing, because the media was like blaming white cis males when technically there's also different individuals who are with different lifestyles, different different taste in video games and all that other stuff, and this whole Not Your Shield was kind of what happened. But as for Sony, and Xbox, the Japanese are not buying into the system because I can understand why. There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of issues with the Xbox brand that, let's face it, if they can find a game, and I know that there's a lot of games coming out for the Xbox One.
Okay, I am back.
All right. There's a lot of games that are coming out for the Xbox One. And the thing is about this system is that there's a lot of good games on it. I'm not going to lie. I've seen some of them. And it's a shame that, Japanese don't like it because, well, there's a lot of reasons. It's too expensive. It doesn't, if they would lower the price, that's understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like the $500 price tag, they should lower to the same price as the PS3.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, the fact that people talk about the whole issue with the whole, let's just put it this way, they're giving out a system without a camera.
Yeah.
Which is less expensive, but no one wants to buy that system.
Which does suck.
Because
Big.
yeah, and it's like they're giving out options for people to buy into the system, because a lot of people talked about this with Xbox, telling them, "Hey, we don't want to buy we don't want to buy the camera, but we like your system, but we don't want to have the camera, the Kinect's camera on it." And they did. They did everything they could, bending over backwards, and nobody wants to buy the system.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the other issue: is that system is like 500 gigs. 500 gigs.
It's not bad.
500 gigs is not bad, but people want like 1 terabyte of memory.
To store any much more than what they need to download.
Because they want to, yeah, that's pretty much why. Because there's more than one game that's like requires you to install games on it. It's pretty much a computer. You have to install games on it.
That's true.
And let's face it, the max capacity that you're allowed to have is around, for Xbox, is like 300 something gigs.
Yeah.
And the updates like probably around 50 to 20 gigs.
Yeah. True enough.
And it's like, you could, like I actually I even remember trying to write an article about saying that they should make an expanded like the Xbox 360, that you can actually take out the memory hard drive and replace it with a new one, and give us like a 700 or 500 or whatever gigabytes. They should, because it would give us a replaceable hard drive.
Now, I mentioned extend the life cycle of the system.
Yeah, and it would extend it would actually work. It would be like the Xbox 360, except you have a much better replacement if it breaks down or something.
Yeah.
God knows that thing had issues. Like, from what I heard, there was like the issue with it rattling, like the loading rattle sound and everything. People were talking about that. I wish that Microsoft would consider bringing out a system for that thing and make it similar to the Xbox 360. Have a replaceable hard drive so you can take it out, because let's face it, 500 gigs isn't enough, because you have to install a whole bunch of games which take about like 50 to 60 gigs or 80 gigs or more just to play a game.
Honestly, I ran into that problem a lot with my Elite.
Yeah. I remember the original Xboxes had 20 gigs to 30 gigs.
Which was a complete fuck up on their part.
On their part, but then they decided to expand it a little bit more, selling the hard drives. And I still have the last generation of 120 gigs, and then they decided to replace it with the non-expanded version of it.
Which being the Elite.
Yeah, not the Elite, but the other ones. The new ones with the which you can actually replace the hard drive with. The new little square ones.
Yeah, that's one. I know which one.
Yeah, let me show you. I'm going to go bring it out here.
Great work.
Yeah, that's the one. I remember that one. And personally, I mean, I have my old Resident Evil Special Edition red Xbox. Yo, you still there, man? I think we're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, because I still have my old one. I was trying to bring it out, but I can't. I'll show you. It's like this old thing. For example, this old Xbox. I still have this old thing. Damn it. The cameras fell out. This old thing.
I remember that one.
Yeah, the old, the old first gen, but I have the second gen version of it. Which you can see right there. That thing right there. Oops. Like those are the second gen ones that they had. It's like,
yeah.
You can see right here. That's another
thing I want to bring up. It's all about gen these days.
Yeah. The second gen models of the Xbox 360s. That's the only thing that they released until they discontinued them.
That's true. And it's like I said, I still have my first gen Nintendo 3DS, which it still works.
I still have the second gen. I used to have the first gen with the Halo thing, the Halo 3.
Yeah.
I had the original Halo, which was the first thing I bought.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like they barely do anything about it. And it's like, you remember those things. It was kind of like you had to replace the hard drive. If they would have done the same thing for Xbox One, it would save them money. It would give them a chance to have people buy the system because it would be economically correct. They wouldn't have to spend like all this money for a new system.
That's true.
It's like,
Yeah, but hey guys, I think we should cut it here. We're running a
that's
little
like
bit
one of the
late.
biggest issues with what the Japanese had with that system. But
Like I said,
anyways, yeah, we got to go because we overstayed our welcome. We did like an hour and 44 minutes. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, like I said, but hey, honestly, if anyone wants to get Destiny and all that, trust me, level capping 20 is still worth getting. I mean,
I
all
know.
the action, everything is worth 8 out of 10 game for without the expansions.
Yes, and we're going to go ahead and go. Thanks for watching.
Well, this is Shiver Crash signing out.
Yes, and I'm JT Vega, and I'm out.
See you, everyone.
See ya. Hopefully we entertained everybody. So let's get out of here. Bye, guys.